everyone, this is Sharon from Sharon's Scrappy Space, and I wanted to do an updated tour of my scrapbook room. Since I've become a demonstrator, I have actually gotten rid of most of my non-Stampin' Up supplies. In fact, most of my supplies are all current Stampin' Up products. As you can see, I still have this awesome shelf that I got on Craigslist, and this is where I keep some of my markers, re-inkers, and ink pads. As you can see on the bottom, I've used a little cubby hose to showcase some of my creations. As you can see, I still have my table, and this is a great place for me just to lay out some of the projects that I'm doing, or to have a small class, or just a couple friends over to scrapbook. I'm just going to pan around and show you my workstation, and this is where I do all of my scrapbooking. You can see my laptop there, big shot station, and it actually provides quite a bit of storage. This piece I actually designed. My husband and I built it together. I just couldn't find anything that I liked out on the market that was within my budget. So we used some MDF and a simple pattern that I designed and put this piece together. As you can see, I got an awesome workstation here. I've got the things that I use the most, just easily accessible. This shelf I also designed, and my husband and I built together. On the side I have slots for all of my Stampin' Up punches. On the top I have jars, just miscellaneous things. On the next shelf I've got embellishments. Those are all Stampin' Up embellishments. On the third shelf I've got a piece of Art Deco that I made out of a shadow box and using all Stampin' Up materials, and I absolutely love it. It looks like a clock, but actually that's just a stamped background. I've got some re-inkers that I use quite often, and I've also got some shimmer mists that I've made. On the bottom shelf I've got some of my ink pads and all of my smaller punches. I've used those large inserts from Stampin' Up for the big shot dies, so that you can store your big shot dies lined up. Well, what I've done is I've taken 4 of those large inserts and just laying them at a slight tilt. I put a screw in the top to hold it in place, and my ink pads and my small punches just slide in between the slots of those large inserts. I wanted to give you a close-up of how I've mounted those large inserts to put my ink pads and my small punches on. It's really worked out well for me. You can see on each side there's cubby hose. On the top left I've got my catalogs, and down below I've got my reference book. And I'll do a video of that by itself at another time. On the other side, on the right side, you can see I've got some paper scraps in there. And that's where I keep just the smallest of the paper scraps. Down below, I've also got some packages of papers, some projects that I'm working on and such. Now you can also see at the top, right under the ledge there by the lights, I've got my tripod, and that's where I mount my camcorder when I'm doing videos. And on the right I've got a little remote control. It's right below the heat gun, close to the tabletop, and that's how I'm able to turn my video camera on and off and pause and that kind of thing. It's really been a handy tool. You see I've got my heat gun hanging there. I've also got my iPad and diaper wipes so that I have those where I can get to them easily. And right above my workstation, this is where I keep most of my current Stampin' Up stamp sets. And all those particular sets are current. I've got my wood mount on the top, and I've got my clear mount on the bottom, and they are both alphabetized. This is a drawer right under my work surface. I made it really wide and where it would pull out quite a bit, and I keep all the tools that I need really quickly. And here's my little TV, and I've got my Black & Decker power drill, and I love that thing. It's just really, it comes in handy. I'm always taking things down and putting them back up or changing things around, and that really makes it handy for me to do that. It's an awesome little tool. My husband got that for me for Valentine's Day. Now this just has a series of shelves, and I've got my acrylic blocks, my powder pal trays, my trimmers, and my circle scissors. On the bottom shelf there, I've got my grid paper and just some paperwork that, you know, I just stick in there until I have an opportunity to file it. And this is my ribbon drawer. This is where I keep all my Stampin' Up ribbons. You can see I've got some dividers to help separate my ribbons and keep them in nice, even rows. And this is my next drawer. I've got some Stampin' Up envelopes. There's some coasters, some post-it notes, sacks, and I'm using those to do Stampin' Up projects and mini books. This bottom drawer is just some miscellaneous supplies that I use, some tools, my label makers, some tapes, just a catch-all drawer. On these two shelves I keep some of my smaller stamps, and also there's some celebration stamps from this last year and some stamps that still need to be put together. I've got my markers, and I've got 3 boxes of my sponge daubers and sponges. And I've got a video on how I organize those if you want to check that out. And on this shelf I keep this little Jetmax box that I got recently, and paper towels, and my little catcher there that you can get from Stampin' Up to spray your shimmer mist and smooch and that kind of thing. And this is just the top drawer of my Jetmax cube. I got some tools in there that I use. In the next drawer, just some little whatnots and stuff that I use. And I've got some rings and sweet treat cups and different things in this bottom drawer. And this is in my next drawer. I've got my embossing powders, my chalks, watercolor crayons, colored pencils. I got some sheet metal back there I've been experimenting with a Big Shot, some glitter, and embossing buddies. In this one I just got some miscellaneous tools. I got my Stampin' Scrubs, some hodgepodge palettes, paint brushes, and sponges, just a bunch of different things. In this drawer I just got some more miscellaneous stuff, some Ziploc bags, my Stampin' Up CDs and digital studio discs, those types of things. And here is my Big Shot station. I absolutely love this because it makes it really easy for me to get to my Big Shot and my dies. I've tried a couple different things and it was just awkward. This is actually what has worked the best for me. I made a recent trip to IKEA and I bought this unit, and it's just been the perfect solution for me. In my top drawer here I've got all of my Stampin' Up adhesives. I got a few post-it notes that I keep handy so I can make notes when I need to. Here in this second drawer I keep some extra re-inkers. I've got some of my Versamark pads, my StazOn pads, my shimmer paints, my smooches, all that kind of stuff. I've got also my rhinestones and pearls that I keep here. Now this is where I keep all of my Biggs dies for my Big Shot, and I've got them sorted by size, and it's really been working out well for me to have this right close to the Big Shot. Now in the bottom drawer here, this is where I keep my smaller dies, my platforms, all my embossing folders, my movers and shakers. Now this is a shelf I used to have quite a bit of supplies on, but since I've become a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, I don't have the need for all those supplies anymore. So I use this shelf here to showcase some of my creations. And this is a shot of my closet. You can see I've got some blue boxes up there. That's where I'm keeping some of my supplies that I've already got ready for workshops and classes and different projects that I'm getting ready for. And I've got some Jet Mex cubes there. That's where I'm keeping all of my Stampin' Up! Paperwork and catalogs, and just where I've got those easily accessible. Got a little plaque there. That's in honor of a couple of women that come to my workshop. These women drive almost an hour and a half to come to my club meeting. And it says, the road to a friend's house is never long. So I saw that in a church gift shop and thought, I've got to have that. So that's in honor of my friends Mona and Darlene. Now you can see I've got some Vigil rails from IKEA and some baskets and little cups. And I don't know, some of you know that I went to IKEA a couple weeks ago to buy everything I needed for my closet. When I got it home, it wasn't quite what I'd hoped it would be. I just couldn't make it work. I'm a very symmetrical person, and it just wasn't working for me. So we just simply built this out, and I've used some of the IKEA pieces. You can see I've got a little drawer unit there. The chair is IKEA as well. I had that before actually though. On the left side, that white thing is actually my photo studio, and that's something my husband gave me for Christmas. And I've got my printer on the other side. My husband was such a sweet man, and he did this for me for my birthday. You can see he's added electricity and lights, and it's just, I just love it. And here's a close-up view of my photo studio. I've got the lights turned on. It's just an awesome little photo studio for taking pictures of my cards and different creations before I post them online. And here's another shelf I have. I used to have a lot of supplies on that. I also showcase a lot of my creations on this shelf too. And here's another view of the ink pad shelf. And here is another cabinet I've got. I actually got this at a cabinet shop when I went to look for granite countertops. I saw this in the showroom, and I thought, wow, I absolutely love that, and it would look great in my scrapbook room. And someone had actually commissioned to have it built. They paid for half of it, and they never showed up to buy it and pay the other half. So I was really lucky, and I was able to buy it for half off. And it's also got some storage below. This bottom shelf, these two here, I've got some of my albums here. But in this right cubby, I've got 12 by 12 clear plastic envelopes. And this is where I'm keeping all of my designer series paper from Stampin' Up, and also some of the specialty pads you can get from Stampin' Up. I keep all my scraps, unless they're little bitty, I keep all that in the envelopes with it. And the middle section here, this is all solid color cardstock. I keep my 8.5 by 11 plus my 12 by 12 papers all in individual envelopes by color. So I even keep my scraps in there as well, and it really helps me to know how much paper I got and if I need to order more paper or what. So I absolutely Love this system. It's worked well for me. And my paper storage is not overwhelming my space anymore. In these boxes I've got cards, I got some samples. They're all separated based on what occasion. So there's birthday cards, there's anniversary, there's, you know, I hope you're feeling better type cards, sympathy. I've got them all separated out into individual boxes, so then all I got to do is pull that box and find the card that I'm looking for. On the top shelf is where I've got all of my idea books. I've got a lot of the retired Stamlpin Up catalogs as well. Okay, so underneath here I've got a lot of things that just aren't the prettiest stuff, but it's stuff that I keep around that I'm still using. I've got some frames and some plastic bags. I got my shipping scale in there. Also some clear plastic boxes on that middle bottom shelf is where I'm keeping some of my projects for my workshops and classes. I put everything in one of those for each project. So this is just to kind of give you an overall view of my scrapbook room and how it's set up. I hope you enjoyed this video. Check out my website at SharonScrappySpace.com for more ideas and tips on using Stamlpin Up products. And I would absolutely love to be your Stamlpin Up demonstrator.